This is exactly how you can program the perfect evidence-based upper body lift that I've used with myself, with a bunch of clients. It's going to be super simple and super effective. So without further ado, let's just jump right in, explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why it's going to be so effective. So first of all, we just have to understand the basic upper body muscles to understand what we're actually going to be training at the end of the day. And a lot of people overcomplicate these things. They try to throw in too much. They try to target every single different region. And in my experience, it's just completely unnecessary. So we just need to understand what are the main things that we're trying to target here. We're trying to hit our chest, our pecs, and then our back's going to be a big priority. So breaking that down, we're going to have the lats, we're going to have the traps. Obviously, there's other deep muscles, things like that, but these are the main ones that we're really trying to target, making sure that we're hitting those directly, and that's going to be super effective for us. And then we also have shoulders, so we have the front, side, and rear delts. And then obviously we're finishing out the upper body with our biceps and triceps. So let's just jump into the first exercise, break down why we're doing it, what it's targeting, and why it's going to be so effective. So let's go. So our first exercise here is just some sort of low incline press. So I really like doing this on the Smith machine. This is what I have a lot of clients do. We'll be mainly performing both shoulder flexion, so bringing our arm up like this, and then shoulder horizontal adduction, so bringing our arm across our body like this. That horizontal adduction is mainly what the chest is responsible for, especially the main portions of the chest, but that upper chest does also perform that shoulder flexion, which is bringing our arm upwards. So if we want to target that upper chest a little bit more, throwing a set of these is not going to be a bad idea. But a lot of people mess these up a lot because they try to flare out their elbows way too much, and then they end up just pressing normally. They only perform shoulder adduction. They don't get any of this flexion motion, so bringing their arm upwards, and they just end up turning this into basically a normal flat press, because the incline, though it matters a little bit, isn't nearly as big of a deal as the arm path that we're following. So the arm path is going to be a lot more important. If we're trying to target these upper chest fibers, we need to make sure we have this tucked elbow so that we can press up like this, as opposed to just pressing like this, where it's just going to mainly be that sternal head or that mid pec, which we will be hitting here, but we're mainly trying to target a little bit more of those upper pecs. And we really only need about one set here. We don't have to go crazy by any means. Push these hard, make sure we have a low incline, keep the elbow tucked, and that's really all you're going to need to target that upper chest. And then after that, we'll move into our second chest exercise. This is going to round it out really well with just a pec deck. A pec deck is probably the best chest builder that is out there. It allows us to perform that horizontal adduction really well. It really allows us to isolate the pecs because we're not getting any triceps, not really much shoulder activation like you would in a press. And it's basically going to hit the entire chest. Obviously a little bit more focused on the mid to lower chest, which is going to make up the majority of the pecs. And since we already have the clavicular region, that upper pec targeted with the incline press, then this is going to be all that we need. 2 sets here, more than enough. Push these hard. We want to make sure that we're not allowing the elbows to dip down really far. So a lot of people will do these and they will push, or they'll bring their arm back and their elbow dips a ton. So we're going to be bringing a lot more of the shoulders in, the front delt, and we're really trying to make sure that this stays a chest exercise. So keep that arm pushing out, keep it in line with the mid chest as much as possible, keep that arm parallel to the ground, and then think about keeping the pressure in your pointer finger and your thumb. So then you're pushing up like this, as opposed to with your whole hand, and you're tucking your elbow down like this. It can really help if we keep that pressure in our pointer finger and thumb there. And then the obviously last thing is just keeping our shoulders against the pad. We'll often see people, as the reps start to get hard, they start leaning forward a lot because they're not able to do it because their chest isn't strong enough. So lower the weight, make sure we can keep our shoulder blades back and against the pad throughout the duration of this entire movement there. And that's all we really need for the chest. The chest does not need a ton of stimulus. It doesn't recover super quickly. This is going to be more than enough. Moving on into some shoulder action, we're going to just throw in 2 sets of lateral raise, and that's all we really need for the shoulders. We're obviously already going to get some front delt activation with that low incline press that we're already doing first, so I don't really think we need another shoulder press here. It's a little bit redundant in my opinion. It takes way too long as well, so just 2 sets of a lateral raise is going to be perfect here. It allows us to target the side delt really well, and you can do these on a machine, which is going to be really good, with a cable or even with dumbbells. It's not going to have a huge difference. The data shows us that as long as we're performing the action well, keeping good form, not trying to ego lift here, we're going to be able to grow the side delts super well. So with a lateral raise, we are obviously performing that shoulder abduction, so bringing our arm out from the body like this, and that can be done, like I said, with the machine, with the cables, whatever is going to be easiest, whatever you have access to is all going to work. A couple simple cues here that really help my clients is thinking about keeping a straight elbow. So you'll see a lot of people turn this into a movement where they're basically just bending their elbow in like this, and it basically makes the movement a lot easier so they can up the weight, and it allows them to have the idea that they're progressing when they're really not. And if you can just keep that elbow straight the entire time, pretty straight arm, a little bend is not going to be the end of the world. Another main thing here is you will see a lot of people turn this into a shrug. They'll bring this up and then they end up just raising their shoulder up like this, and that's just all going to be traps. You're not going to get much side delt activation. So obviously a little bit of shrugging is not going to be the end of the world. That's just going to happen with this movement, but we want to limit it as much as possible. And it's going to be really tempting to try to up the weight as much as possible on these, but lateral raises are a movement that you're just not going to be able to. It's going to take a long time because you're just not going to be able to use that much load, and that's perfectly okay. Do not try to rush these, because what will happen is you'll end up turning these into either a trap movement, or you will just rotate your arm out like externally or internally, which is going to shift all the tension onto either the front delt or the rear delts, which is not what we're trying to do here. We are trying to target the side delt. So keep the arm straight, make sure you have really good pressure in the outside of your foot if you're using a cable version here, because if you're keeping all the pressure in the outside foot, it's going to be harder to get that shrugging motion upwards. You don't need a crazy deep stretch on these by any means. You don't have to bring your arm all the way across your body. That's all that's going to do is turn us into internal rotation, which is not what the side delts do. You're not going to be able to stretch these super well, because if you did, you would have to bring it through the center of your body, which is not going to happen. And we're not trying to stretch the front or the rear delts. That's not what we're trying to do here. So don't need to get a big stretch. You can just bring it all the way down to your side of your body, straight back up to parallel, more than enough, making sure that our hand and our wrist isn't coming too far above our elbow. That's not going to be good. And then if you're using a cable variation here, doing this cupped is always a good idea. It takes a little bit of the wrist out of it, and then just think about keeping your hand parallel to the ground. So that's all we're really going to need for our delts here. 2 or 3 sets is going to be more than enough, and you'll be good. Next, shifting over to our back here. So I have some sort of a Kelso shrug. This is going to allow us to isolate the traps a little bit more. You could also do any sort of upper back row variation where you're just bringing your arms up like this, but because, as you'll see, we're already going to be doing a row variation, I think a Kelso shrug is going to be a better use of your time here. So yeah, you could just even throw in 1 set of a normal row, upper back row, and then 1 set of a Kelso shrug. That would work as well. I just throw 2 Kelso shrugs in here because it makes it a little bit easier. So you could do this on a T-bar, you could do this on a bench like this. All we're really trying to do here is perform scapular retraction. So we're not bringing our arms back like this whatsoever. We don't need to do that. We can keep the arms down. We want to keep that as stable as possible, and then just bring our scaps back. We're retracting our scapula, and then our traps are also responsible for a little bit of elevation. So if you want to bring them up and back, that's what we're trying to do here. It's not going to be a super big range of motion. You don't have to get this crazy stretch coming forward. All we're trying to do, go from here, retract the scap, keeping our head up and our chest up is going to make it a lot more comfy on our sternum as well. So a lot of people will complain about getting pain down in here while they're doing these, but they're hunched over like this. All you have to do, keep the chin up a little bit. It's going to take a lot of that pressure off of the sternum, and this is going to allow us to really eliminate much lat involvement, because we're already going to be doing some lat movements, and get rid of the bicep involvement as well. So 2 sets here. Once again, any sort of Kelso shrug variation is going to be super solid, allow us to target those traps a little bit more than we would with just a normal row. Now getting into our lats here. So start off with just a normal lat pull down in the frontal plane. This is going to be a super great movement, kind of stable for us. 1 or 2 sets is going to be more than enough. Allow us to target more of those lower lats because we're performing shoulder adduction, so bringing our arm down to our hips, down like this. The biggest issue people run into on these is performing these like an upper back row. So they start leaning back really far, and then they just drive their elbows backwards when they're coming down like this. That is not going to target the lat very well. We want to perform shoulder adduction, bring our arms down. To do this, you might have to lower the weight. We don't want to lean back excessively, just enough so the bar comes straight in front of our head, and then only think about driving your elbows down towards your waist. And that's all you have to do here. Now, a lot of people will try to overemphasize the range of motion that you need on these. You don't have to get a super deep stretch all the way above. In fact, our lats lose a lot of leverage over 120 degrees of shoulder elevation. So once your arm starts getting up super high and you have to stretch, your lats aren't even getting much activation all the way up there. It's still good to go through a full range of motion. You don't have to really overemphasize the stretch. And then similarly, you don't have to come down super far. This is another issue you see, is people come down all the way to their chest. What happens is they shift their shoulders forward, these roll forward. You're not going to be targeting the lats down there either. So all you have to do, bring the bar down around nose height. Anywhere between kind of your upper lip to your eyebrows is a great place, as long as your elbows are kind of crossing this parallel, getting down to here. Bring that to around nose height. That's all you really need to do. You don't have to bring it down super low. You don't have to stretch it super far up top, making sure we're performing that adduction and not bringing it back, bringing our elbows back. And that's all you need for these lower lats. It's going to allow us to target these super well. Now, some people say you can't even target both regions of the lats. I think you can. Doesn't really matter. I think either way is going to be a good idea to throw in a single arm lat row like this in the sagittal plane. So bringing our arm down like this in shoulder extension, because this is also going to allow us to hit our rear delts really well. And especially because we aren't doing an upper back row, this is going to be super helpful, because this is the only thing that we're really doing for the rear delts. Obviously, we're going to still hit those a little bit with our pull down, but this is going to be our main driver of rear delt growth as well. But then also more of our upper lats when we are bringing our arm down in shoulder extension too. So bringing the arm close to our body down like this, as opposed to adduction like this, we are bringing down like this. Some some main things that we're trying to think here is doing some sort of a chest supported variation. So something like a machine is going to be really good, or something like version I like doing is actually bringing it from up above using a cable and a bench, leaning back a little bit. With these, we want to really think about keeping the spine neutral, so not trying to lean back super far. We don't want to be rocking back and forth, because that's going to obviously turn this into a lower back movement, which we're not trying to do either. We want to keep that super stable, bring it down here. Don't have to overemphasize the stretch. Once again, let the scap move a little bit just to take it through that full range of motion, but we don't have to overemphasize it, and we don't have to bring it down super far past our body here, just to about parallel where our body is, then come straight back up. Don't emphasize the stretch, and then just come straight back down. And that's going to allow you to really target those upper lats, like I said. And then this is also going to be a really good stimulus for our rear delts. Don't really need any direct rear delt work, in my opinion. If you have some extra time and want to throw a set of reverse pec deck in, that's perfectly fine, but this is going to be more than enough for most people. Again, just 1 or 2 sets here, and you're going to be golden. All right, moving on into our arms to finish these out here. So I really like some sort of incline bench tricep push down variation, where you set up the bench like this, and then we are just extending the elbow. Something else you could do here is just a normal push down. The biggest thing here is, because we're only using one exercise here, do something where your arm is down to the side of your body. This is going to allow us to target all 3 heads of the tricep. We're really going to be able to bring the long head into it, because our upper arm is remaining still, because we're performing that shoulder extension, which is what all 3 heads are responsible for. The biggest thing to remember for these is to keep the upper arm stable. So many people turn these into a lat movement because they are bringing their upper arm down up like this, then they're just pushing down like this. That's not going to be doing what we're trying to do. Keep the arm stable and just push down. Just push down. It's hard to get in this video. All we're doing is pushing down. Keep the elbow in the same place the entire time. Tuck it close to your body, and that's all you have to do. Same thing here. We're just extending the elbow, bringing our arms up like this, and then just extending. This allows us to get a lot of support, a lot of stability, which is why I really like it. I'll often alternate in between these two, because they're basically the same thing. They're really fun to do as well. So make sure to get full extension on these. Don't cut the range of motion short. This shortened position, the contracted position, is going to be the most important aspect of this, and you don't need a super deep stretch on these as well. So there's no need to bring all the way up to here. You just kind of come up to where the point where it's tough, where your elbow starts to want to move, and then you just come straight back down. Don't overcomplicate it. That's what you need for the triceps. 2 sets here, you'll be able to grow. You don't need that much volume. Push hard, making sure we're hitting these twice per week, obviously. That's all you need. Finishing it out here with our bicep, all we're throwing in 2 sets of a machine preacher curl, or any preacher curl variation. You could just use a bench as well. This will allow us to target both the long head and the short head of the biceps and the brachialis, because they're all responsible for flexing the elbow. A lot of people talk about, well, we have to train them through different resistance profiles and in different lengths. It doesn't really matter. Pick a curl variation, get strong at it, flex the elbow. That's all you really need. Now, if you wanted to throw in 1 set of a hammer curl or a reverse curl to get a little bit more brachioradialis involvement, that'd be fine. I don't think you even need to. For most people, especially starting out, if you're watching this video, this will be more than enough. A couple sets here, a couple times per week. Promise your biceps will grow if you're pushing these hard and you're keeping proper form. We just want to make sure that we're getting strong at flexing the elbow, which is exactly what we're trying to do here. Now, for the preacher curl variation, some machines are going to have a pretty poor resistance profile. We want this to be hardest in that mid to lengthen position. When we're out here, we don't want it to be super hard up here where the biceps are going to lose a lot of leverage. So just making sure, if you need to, we can just cut out this entire top range of motion. This part isn't really necessary. Bring it down, come up to here around 90 degrees, and then you can just go straight back down. That's what's going to target the biceps super well. Don't have to overcomplicate it. Don't need 4 different exercises. Do these, get strong at it, flex the elbow, you'll be good. Similar to the triceps, extend the elbow, good for the triceps, flex the elbow, good for the biceps. And that's all you really need, and that is basically the entire workout. Super simple, but again, super effective. I have seen people progress crazy with this, even though it's not super high volume, it's not super fancy. We don't have 50 different exercises. If you do these things, you repeat them at least twice per week, whether you're just doing this exact same workout in another upper day, whether you're doing a push-pull and then finishing out with this upper to make sure we're getting that 2 times frequency for each muscle group. As long as we're doing that and we're pushing hard and we're progressing and getting stronger, we will grow. And that's all you really need for that perfect evidence-based full upper day. Again, this is a workout I've done for myself. I still actively do a very similar version, and then I also program for a lot of clients. And again, need to be tailored towards whatever your individual needs, your priorities are. So if you already have a really good chest right now, or you already have a really good upper region in the chest, yeah, you might not need that incline press, or at least you might not need it first. So the biggest thing for prioritization, if you're trying to target the lats, start with your lat movements first. You don't need to change volume a ton. You don't have to completely switch up the entire week, give like a complete back day or anything like that. This day will still work. Switch the order, maybe swap some things out. If you really want to bring up the front delts a little bit more, swap the incline press for a top range of motion, overhead press, shoulder press, things like that. It's going to be super simple. We're going to obviously want to make adjustments based on who you are. That's obviously just going to come with more details, so we can be more individualized for each person. Volume wise, similarly, it's going to differ from each person. Some people will recover really well, some people can take more volume, and some people, they're not going to do well with a lot of volume. So this is a very bare bones version, not a ton of volume, so you could always add a little bit more here and there, but I don't think you need that much volume. As long as you're getting stronger, it's going to be more than enough. If you're progressing, you don't need to just add a ton of volume, but again, experiment for yourself to see how much volume you can have specifically that's that's going to vary obviously for each person. But overall, this day is going to do everything you need. Again, you could throw it into an upper lower program, push pull legs upper, something like that. And that's all you really need to have a fantastic upper day. So hope this helps. Hope you've learned something through this video, how to program this for yourself, for clients, whatever it may be. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, the application is going to be in the description as usual. Make sure you subscribe, follow on Instagram so we can keep learning together. Hope this helps. See you guys later.